Another month goes by, and what time is it? Well, it's time to talk Oscars here on the Popcast Network. Pardon my throat if I sound bad. A little hoarse from last night, to say the least. Didn't really get much sleep, but the show must go on, as Hugh Jackman as P.T. Barnum will soon tell us. It's time to talk the 2018 Academy Awards season. Once again, my name is Owen. Joining me, as always, is AJ.
Yes, I am here.
Wow, that was dynamite drop in there, Donnie. The thing is,
cool again when you do that shit.
So, if you are new to the network, welcome. This is how we do things now that we're thousands of miles apart. We do podcasts in order to do our Oscar predictions, and I have no idea what's going to happen when we actually get to the award season itself, because it's going to be really interesting. If I don't have access to a television, so this might be real interesting when we get there. So I'm sure you're wondering where Ashley is. This was kind of a last minute thing, and my head's kind of jumbled from yesterday for a lot of reasons. So needless to say, I forgot to let him know what was going on. I didn't do it on purpose, I swear. It was just basically I ended up this like, oh, wait a minute, it's Tuesday. And you called me, and it was kind of like, oh, God, I forgot. I mean, I ran 4 miles yesterday. I got signed off at my job yesterday. And then I went to Disney yesterday with John Paul. And it was kind of like, didn't end up getting in bed or like falling into bed until about like 5 hours ago. So yeah, I feel like absolute death. And now we're going to talk about the Oscars with very, very slight preparation. But I will say, much to your chagrin, I've actually seen a few of the top contenders now. So, but we'll get to that a little bit later. So, since he's not here, one of two things will happen. Either A, Ashley's going to come in midway through the podcast, because that's kind of a tradition, coming in midway through a podcast. Not with Ashley, but with others on the network. But the other option is you're going to get an Ashley video that's going to be his Oscar prediction. So we'll see what happens with that, and I'll get that out as soon as possible. And brand new news, as of this very second, Versus is dropped. So yeah, a little bit late, but it's still there, and it's a monster one, especially if you're a Tim Burton fan. So check that one out if you'd like. AJ put a lot into it. Really good battle. So watch that. So without any further ado, there's a lot of things that have been going on lately with the race, because we've had some major, and I do mean major, nominations that are now out. So AJ, what's the state of the race?
Well, as far as winners go, we've already had LA, New York, Gotham, and National Board of Review. National Board of Review went for the Post. That's not very surprising, given the connotation. But they do seem to be kind of spreading the love, unless it's supporting actor. So we do definitely have a front runner. But apart from that, also, speaking of supporting actor, my question last time was if Death of Stalin was going to be ineligible.
Right.
Okay. Apparently it is, because we're not getting it till March. So, as if adapted screenplay wasn't barren enough, that makes it even worse. So, yeah. That's what I assume most people who like really follow this have seen the winner results at this point, but I figure we'll touch on that as we go through the categories.
Right. So, like I said, pardon my my scratchy throat here, but we're gonna go into the Big Eight. That's what we usually do here, and I believe starting next month we're going to do everything, right, leading up to the actual Oscar nominations. Soon after, actually. So if you go ahead.
Reason, like, nominations wise, everything is and like getting these early awards, everything is happening like a week earlier than it usually does. But then the Oscar ceremony is a week later than it usually is. So it's all confusing.
Yeah, so it's really interesting to say the least because everything is coming up at us all at once, like all at once, and it's crazy to say the least. Like, I mean, you're looking at everything. The nominations are going to be announced on the 23rd of January, and it's like that's insane. And then the Oscars are March 4th, so it just blows my mind.
So I guess we're getting started then.
Yes, we are. So I will say right now that there's not much that's changed in mine. And the reason for that is because I honestly just don't have much I can change. Like, I'm pretty set in my ways for most of this. Now, there's a couple that I probably shouldn't be, but I'm still a little more confident, I guess you would say. So, since Ashley's not here, we're just going to do myself and AJ. And then we're going to, like I said, you'll get an Ashley video very soon. That's going to, unless he pops in out of randomness, which is possible. And then we'll go back and getting him. So I will say right now that we're going to get started with our first set of screenplay nominations. So, AJ, best adapted screenplay.
In this very dead category, I have Call Me by Your Name, The Disaster Artist, Molly's Game, Mudbound, and Wonder. Not to be confused with Wonderstruck, just Wonder. Once again, Call Me by Your Name is like a given.
Right.
I wasn't on the Disaster Artist train, but I think it's won a couple of things here already.
Yep.
Like I said, with this category, losing contenders left and right, might as well go with it. Molly's Game, I'm still not like totally certain about. Like I'm not certain just going on Sorkin's name alone. I really am not sure like just what it's going to do in general. But as far as filling up this category, Sorkin's a pretty reliable name to go with. I don't get it, but people really like Mudbound, and it seems to be there's a lot of people saying if we're going to finally break down that Netflix barrier in regards to a lot of award success, that Mudbound is going to be the movie to do that. So once again, with the category being this dead, fine. And then as far as Wonder goes, it's been like this really surprising success, and it's getting like a shitload of acclaim, and
Right.
it's based on a beloved book. I like the. I mean, this doesn't mean anything awards wise, but I like the fact that Chabosky's name is attached to it.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, it's one of those things where it just kind of seems like since the category's kind of dying down. Obviously, I've also taken out Last Flag Flying because its release ended up being so unceremonious, regardless of Linklater's attachment to it and the great cast. It just kind of seems like things are falling into place for Wonder in some way. So I figured maybe we'll see what happens here.
Right. Well, Wonder's interesting with me because I actually my mom has been in town for the last like couple weeks because of work, and it's weird because I've actually been able to spend a little time with her, and because of it, she's like, "So I want to go see Wonder." I was like, "All right, we can do that." So we did, and you know, Jacob Tremblay is amazing, absolutely amazing. I mean, you'd think that Julia Roberts and Owen Wilson working together as husband and wife wouldn't work, but it actually does. And I think Owen Wilson from like Wedding Crashers is probably like, dude, I get to be with Pretty Woman. This is amazing.
Dude, he was married to Aniston and Marley and Me.
I know. He's like, he's basically, well, he's the every man that gets to be with every woman, like the one that everybody really likes, the regal woman of Hollywood in the movies. And he gets to be with the attractive women. It's kind of like, well, it's like you fight for Owen Wilson in movies because it's like, yeah, it's like we have a shot too. But the thing is, I mean,
Owen Wilson appreciates that.
I'm positive we are. to be honest, the movie is really well done. I think it's a tad bit long, but I mean, I enjoyed it very much. I said to a good friend of mine the other day, and I think I'm going to agree with this. I think Jacob Tremblay is going to be an Oscar nominee and a winner before he's 21. I think he'll be a legitimate nominee before he's 18 at this rate. If it takes that long, he's that good.
All right, let's all put our bets on his performance in The Predator then.
Yeah. Hey, everyone's entitled to their other projects. It's okay. So my adapted screenplay lineup hasn't changed at all. I still have faith in Linklater for Last Flag Flying. I don't know why. It's honestly the only thing that's really hanging on, and it's the only thing that I really can't change because I don't really have anything to change it with. Wonder's actually not a bad idea, but I mean, I don't want to like take your thunder because it's like doesn't make any sense. Mudbound is here. It actually picked up a little bit because I think it's pretty much set in this category. Call Me by Your Name seems to be the one that everybody is literally going for, and I have picked up a little bit more on that bandwagon later on in this the rest of the nominations here. Molly's Game I'm stuck with. I've been seeing that trailer a lot, and it looks really good. It looks exactly what you would imagine an Aaron Sorkin screenplay to flow like, especially with the trailer. And My Precious Disaster Artist, which I cannot wait to see this Thursday night. I've been waiting so long for it. I'm so happy to see it. And it's actually getting so much acclaim that it's weird that this year, like we talked offline before we started, and it's kind of like movies that I have been on the bandwagon for are actually like really happening this year. I don't think we're ever going to get another situation like before. Like I went down with the ship when it comes to certain movies. American Hustle is the biggest example, to be honest, and I'm not going to have one of those this year. Everything that I have like clung to throughout the season, I think it's going to come true, regardless if it's a lot or if it's not much. It's still going to be there. So that's what we've got. And now we move on to the bloodbath that is Best Original Screenplay.
This is frustrating because it basically there's 5 slots and there's basically 6 movies at play here.
Pretty much.
At least that's the way I see it, unless I'm like totally forgetting something. But the ones that I have are Get Out, Phantom Thread, Lady Bird, The Post, and 3 Words Outside Ebbing, Missouri. I got those out of alphabetical order by accident.
Right.
Obviously, I've been saying all year that I was going to keep The Big Sick in here no matter what. Clearly, I've already gone against that. And the reason for that is I wasn't really on this Get Out train for a while. I think I thought the genre and the fact that it came out in February was going to hurt it.
Mm-hmm.
That's clearly not the case. It's really becoming like this cultural thing. There are film school classes devoted to it. And it just keeps getting brought up. And Peele's already won a couple of things already, not just for writing, but directing also. And he's like, obviously he's sweeping through all of the first feature prizes.
Right.
So, and then obviously the other 3 speak for themselves. The other one that's really starting to show is Phantom Thread, which I kind of was starting to think was going to be out of this until Paul Thomas Anderson started winning a couple of screenplay awards. So this might keep it alive. But then I was thinking, obviously this is where I'm at now, but the whole idea of, should I have been right to begin with and The Big Sick is still going to get in here, which of these things could possibly go?
Right.
I guess the one that stands out the most would be Phantom Thread, because Phantom Thread risks possibly being like one of those movies that's like strictly a critics movie, where like it could be one of the ones that wins all these different critics awards, but then when the actual big awards come around, like actor is at best what it does. But then the fact that they did nominate him for Inherent Vice is what keeps pushing me back towards it. That they do like him that much, even though, if I remember correctly, Inherent Vice was in a significantly weaker category that year. Wasn't that the same year that American Sniper got an adapted screenplay?
Yeah, that was weird.
So, yeah, so I don't think Phantom Thread is untouchable here, even if Paul Thomas Anderson's already winning stuff. And I do think that the Big Sick would be in its place if it wasn't here. But yeah, I do think it's down to those six. So unless I'm like really forgetting one, but
yeah, I do. I see something you're forgetting, and we'll get to that in a minute.
it's probably the one I had in here last time that is gone as well.
I mean, it's possible, I guess. Yeah, as I look into that lineup, it was The Imitation Game, American Sniper, The Theory of Everything, Whiplash, and Inherent Vice.
And we knew, like, at the very beginning of the season that Graham Moore was taking that, so.
Yeah, that shouldn't have happened. Sorry. So, mine, well, again, once more, it's not changed one bit, except for the fact that now I'm a little bit confused because you've given me thoughts about PTA here, and I don't know if it's something that I need to worry about or not. I will say right now that for the time being, he's on the outside looking in because I'm keeping my original lineup. Best original screenplay: Lady Bird, I, Tanya, Get Out, The Post, and Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. AJ's probably rolling his eyes when he knows what I'm about to do. I literally have 4 words. What does Owen have in common with Noah Baumbach? I heart Greta Gerwig, and in every way possible. And I absolutely fell in love with Lady Bird, and it's not just my personal bias. I will say right now that it is really well done, really well directed, really well acted, which we'll get to that later on, and really well written too. I'll say right now that she's going to be a double threat this year, and I'm super happy to be able to say that, much to your chagrin. The Post, I think, is definitely in here for sure. The Jordan Peele train keeps rolling on. And like I said, Get Out is going to be a really big contender this year, and I'm being proven right every single time. Um, with I, Tanya, I really think that once it gets seen, it's probably going to get a little bit more out in the spotlight when it comes to screenplay nomination. But I guess we'll see. I mean, I didn't think about Paul Thomas Anderson, but I mean, it's very possible. And the one Martin McDonough, just Three Billboards is just so well done. It's so dark, it's so funny, and again, also very well written. And I really think that he cannot miss this category either. But like you said before, there's 6 that could get in, now 7, possibly 8, 10 that we're not even thinking of that could possibly get in this category. It's going to be really interesting to see exactly what makes it when we get into our actual nominations at the end of next month. Best Supporting Actress.
Well, yeah. All right. I made like one change, and it's not something I did with much. Well, yeah, I'll just tell you. I have Mary J. Blige for Mudbound, Holly Hunter for The Big Sick, Allison Janney for I, Tonya, Melissa Leo for Novitiate, and Laurie Metcalf for Lady Bird. Obviously, since the beginning, I had Kristen Scott Thomas in here for Darkest Hour, but then, like, weirdly enough, you predicted, I guess. People kind of stopped talking about Darkest Hour outside of Oldman, so it just kind of seemed to die off a little bit. And it's almost like she seemed like she was just taking up a space in here. So it's like looking at who else is being considered. I hear Leslie Manville for Phantom Thread occasionally.
I've seen that.
Somebody that's trying to force their way into this is Tiffany Haddish for Girls Trip, who won New York with basically doing the exact same thing McCarthy did in Bridesmaids, and trying to get on the path to the Oscar nomination the exact same way she did. I don't know that I could totally support that. I thought she was the weak link of that cast by far. And so you look at Mary J. Blige from Mudbound. One way to look at it is the fact that she's totally and completely campaigning for it. She's like doing the roundtables and shit. But then you'll notice when I talked about Mudbound briefly on the Justice League video, I had mentioned that she's in the damn thing for like 5 minutes and really doesn't do a whole lot. But then again, personal opinion aside, that hasn't stopped people before.
No, it hasn't.
But the other thing I'm kind of looking at is she also, in a roundabout, I hope this makes sense, because I don't really have a way to explain it. In a roundabout way, she's reminding me of Jane Fonda with Youth.
Okay.
Like, she's the very recognizable name, and she's got the movie that's kind of a little bit, but does have enough attention. But she'll probably get like a Globe nomination and maybe one more, but then she might ultimately miss when it comes to the Oscar nomination itself. But she could also be the I was barely here, barely did anything, but I'm a big name and people like my movie, so here I am, and I'm doing the campaigning and the roundtables and shit.
Right.
So I honestly, I don't know if it's having McCarthy to go on or what, but it honestly wouldn't be surprising if Haddish started to gain a lot of steam and then ultimately did the McCarthy thing, didn't really show up except for Critics Awards, and then suddenly gets SAG and then goes uphill from there. But yeah, I don't know. That's kind of but really, the most important thing here is that Laurie Metcalf seems to be running away with this, despite the fact that people thought Allison Janney was going to totally sweep.
Not now.
But I mean, we've only done, once again, it's worth noting, this is the time of year where we get like these Critics Awards, and people immediately like to jump to conclusions, just like how there's a couple of places where Three Billboards didn't do very well, so now people are trying to say, oh my god, is Three Billboards dead? And it's like, fuck no, Three Billboards is not dead because it missed a couple of Critics Awards. But yeah, it is definitely the case of things could be really changing the game of this season, or just not saying a whole lot in general. It's really hard to tell until things really start to go forward, but that's where I'm standing here for now. Melissa Leo, Novitia is a movie that you're just really not hearing about, like, at all. But at least I'm not. But I feel like if her campaigning for the fighter, if controversial as it would, still managed to get her a win, they clearly like her enough. And it does seem like the role enough will probably be strong enough. So I'm just going to kind of keep sticking with her until we get to like the big awards, and maybe she'll disappear, or maybe she'll keep showing up. It's hard to say, but really what we're trying to say is Laurie Metcalf, Allison Janney, and Holly Hunter are probably good to go.
Yeah, I'd say so. That's a good bet. So here we go. First off, I want to mention, because I totally negated the chat room. I apologize. Gaius, welcome back. One movie that I had a lot of hopes for in the entire race itself, that I've seen a bunch for, is Downsizing. And it seems like it's kind of droning off a little bit. I don't know what's going to happen when we actually get more information about it. Gaius says Downsizing, I, Tonya, Lady Bird, The Post, and Three Billboards. And then he said he thinks that I, Tonya is basically like the Dallas Buyers Club this year. Interesting.
That's a weird
interesting way to put it. I see exactly where he's coming from, to be honest. With Gaius, he's like supporting actress, Mary J. Blige for Mudbound, Hong Chow for Downsizing, Allison Janney for I, Tonya, Novitiate for Melissa Leo, and reverse that, and Laurie Metcalf for Lady Bird. Novitiate was here for like 2 weeks, and I never got a chance to see it, so that sucks. But I bumped her out, actually, this time around. And I bumped her out for Mary J. Blige. I'm telling you, forever and a day, Ruby D is going to be my measuring stick when it comes to very short performances that get nominations, and I think that's what we're going to stick with this time around.
Oh, you haven't seen Ring at the Top, sir.
Oh, dear God.
Was it Hermione Badley was in it for like 2.5 minutes in the background?
Oh, God. We'll see what happens, I guess. So we'll get to that. And I'll say that other than that, my categories have remained the same. So I still have Holly Hunter for The Big Sick, Laurie Metcalf for Lady Bird, Allison Janney for I, Tonya, and Octavia Spencer for The Shape of Water. The Shape of Water trailer is really out there. It's like, I mean, I got vibes of like Shutter Island. I get vibes of like various like Ex Machina. And I look at it and I'm thinking, I was like, this movie's not gonna. And then I'm like, this movie's really got a claim right now. And I'm thinking, like, yeah, it's probably a lot more safe than I'm thinking because if I look at my predictions, like, it's everywhere. So it's probably a good bet. Holly Hunter's the only hang on for The Big Sick, but I mean, we'll see. I should probably will get in. And it's going to be a battle between Metcalf and Janney for the entire run. One character that I know very well because of my love for the actual story itself, and one character that just makes every scene she's in and deserves to run away with this category. So, yeah, I wasn't as big of a Roseanne Mark as you, but I really appreciate her acting abilities, and she just knocks it out of the park in Lady Bird. So, yeah. Best Supporting Actor.
Well, if I'm right, this one's going to get interesting. I have Willem Dafoe for The Florida Project, Armie Hammer for Call Me by Your Name, Christopher Plummer for All the Money in the World, Sam Rockwell for 3 Awards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, and Michael Stuhlbarg for Call Me by Your Name. I feel like we're getting closer and closer to that double nomination to the point that it's almost like it's common knowledge at this point.
Right.
Obviously, Willem Dafoe's running away with wins, which is fantastic. Like, I haven't even seen the movie, but just the idea of Willem Dafoe winning an Oscar is just making me so happy inside.
Mm-hmm.
Rockwell is a given. Rockwell is like they're saying is in second place pretty much. I guess there was word that people thought Rockwell had actually taken the lead from Willem Dafoe until Willem Dafoe won like 3 in a row, and now it's like he's running away with it. But once again, we'll see what happens.
Rockwell's so good.
As far as Plummer goes, before I put him in here, I have Richard Jenkins in it.
Yeah, I was thinking about that, honestly.
But it was one of those cases where when I put Richard Jenkins in, it was one of those cases where I stopped and said, this almost seems too easy. And like, there's got to be something that kind of throws this off. You know who Plummer's actually reminding me of right now, regardless of everything else going into it? Like, obviously, the main reason I'm going for Plummer is the fact that if he puts out something really great, which being Christopher Plummer, he probably does, people are going to know that he did it in so little time. And maybe they'll also do it to stick it to Spacey for all we know.
Right.
But besides all that, besides how he would be able to do it in such a small amount of time, do you know what Plummer's giving me vibes of here for some reason? I guess because he would be like such a late player. It would remind Jesus Christ. It would remind me of when Max von Sydow got nominated for Extremely Loud and Incredibly Close for some reason.
I know what you mean there.
Okay. So, yeah, I went ahead and for now put him in place of Richard Jenkins, but I could totally see that changing when we do this one more time.
I could see where you're coming from there. Me, on the other hand, I didn't change my lineup one bit. My best supporting actor is a double nom for Call Me by Your Name for Michael Stuhlbarg and Armie Hammer, Michael Shannon for The Shape of Water, Willem Dafoe for The Florida Project, and Sam Rockwell for 3 billboards outside Ebbing, Missouri. How many times is Owen going to screw up that name during this award season?
What is it that has you putting more faith in Shannon than Jenkins?
I don't know at this point. I mean, they're both very prominent in the trailer. I know that doesn't say anything. I mean, I want Jenkins to get nominated. I really do. I mean, something just tells me right now, at least for another month, just keep it the way it is and see where it rolls. And then, I mean, I can see myself flipping Shannon and Jenkins, which it easily could happen. But I'm very confident. Gaius says the same thing. He says Dafoe, Hammer, and Stuhlbarg for Call Me by Your Name, and Jenkins. He says I feel Rockwell could be a huge upset. And he's going with Mark Rylance. I mean, honestly, I'll shoot with you guys until I actually looked at things like from a more like cohesive standpoint and actually paid attention because I was half asleep and exhausted. I almost dropped Dunkirk completely out of this race. And then I'm looking at it because I had other things I could put in its place. Like I could have dropped Nolan, but then Nolan's the front runner. And I mean, I could have bumped it out of picture. And then I was like, I had an idea for something I wanted to do there. And then I was like, no, I'm not going to do that. But I can't get on the Rylance train. I don't know what it is. I just can't. It's probably going to happen now that I've said that. But I mean, I'm not there. It's weird. I feel like there's upsets here that are coming in. I mean, a double nom for Call Me By Your Name is a very big one. And The Shape of Water in true Ashley fashion getting something in this category makes sense. And I think Rockwell's just so good in Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. It's just it would be a crying shame if he gets snubbed, and I don't want to see that happen. And we progress. Best Actress.
Actress seems to be that category where, remember last year how early it became very apparent what supporting actress was going to be, and it pretty much remained those 5 through almost the whole season?
Right.
Kind of feel like that's where we're headed with actress.
Very possible.
I have Sally Hawkins for The Shape of Water, Frances McDormand for Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, Margot Robbie for I, Tonya, Saoirse Ronan for Lady Bird, and Meryl Streep for The Post. Obviously, Streep will be breaking the National Board of Review curse. People may want to use that against her, but I don't think it's going to be an issue. Obviously, for the longest time, I was sticking with Kate Winslet for Wonder Wheel, but apparently Wonder Wheel is not getting a very good reaction, like at all.
Oh boy.
And I'm guessing that she's not going to be strong enough, especially with Sally Hawkins doing all this. And Sally Hawkins just got a win, too. I think it was L.A.? It was New York or L.A. And I had initially wasn't going with Hawkins because of the genre and how rare it is for actors to get in here. Because with the first thing that The Shape of Water was getting compared to immediately was Arrival. And so my immediate thought process was, well, that makes sense. If Amy Adams got snubbed, then Sally Hawkins surely will too. But with the competition seeming to die down, it just kind of seems like we're not really going any farther than these 5. Once again, unless there's somebody I'm forgetting. But yeah, unless Judi Dench wants to suddenly come into this, like she could get nothing, and then she could suddenly get into BAFTA, and then that would just be enough to propel her to knock Sally Hawkins out. I do think Sally Hawkins is 5th of these 5. But, yeah, that's where I'm standing now.
Well, I'll make it real easy as well. Much to my chagrin in the fact that sometimes there's just one of those out there nominations that just kind of makes sense on paper, but doesn't necessarily make sense in actual practice. I did have to bump Dame Judi Dench out. So she's not in my lineup anymore. So Victoria and Abdul is nowhere to be found in my actual lineups now for anything. And I don't know if it'll go anywhere else when it comes to any other category. So I have a feeling it's probably dead in the water unless something comes up out of nowhere, which could happen. My best actress lineup, probably not changing the rest of the run. Meryl Streep for The Pose, Saoirse Ronan for Lady Bird, Frances McDormand for Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, and Margot Robbie for I, Tonya. Meryl Streep and just the trailer, The Post alone looks, I know saying that she looks Oscar worthy is like the understatement of the decade, but really good. I mean, Ronan is the real in Lady Bird, to say the least. And if she doesn't win, if she doesn't win something big in this run, I'm going to be shocked.
Wait, hold on. There's McDormand, Robbie, Ronan, Streep. Who's your 5th?
I'll get to that.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
Frances McDormand, amazing. Absolutely incredible. Margot Robbie playing Tonya Harding, I'm in. I cannot wait. Just seeing that poster makes me happy because she's got that snarl, that Tonya Harding snarl that I know so much, and it's perfect. Yes, I'm going with Sally Hawkins because if you want to talk about me getting Oscar, like when it comes to me getting cred, when it comes to my predicting abilities, always go back to Sally Hawkins. And it helped. Best actor.
Oh, well, that was abrupt. Actor took an interesting turn.
Okay.
I have Timothy Chalamet for Call Me by Your Name, Daniel Day-Lewis for Phantom Thread, James Franco for The Disaster Artist, Tom Hanks for The Post, and Gary Oldman for Darkest Hour. I bumped Denzel for Timothy Chalamet because I was under the impression that young actors don't do very well in this category. But this dude, what is he, 21?
Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah, he was young Casey Affleck in Interstellar. And now he's here, and he's like winning a lot of stuff. Like I think the only other person that's won something so far besides him was Franco won the Gotham, but Chalamet still won the Gotham for Breakthrough. So, not that any of this matters, but if you want to look at what's already happened, he's really keeping himself in the spotlight, and he's also proven. When you watch the actually, I was going to bring this up for a couple of reasons. That variety series, Actors on Actors, that they do around this season, where it's like an hour of just two actors interviewing each other. He did it with Daniel Kaluuya from Get Out.
Yes.
And you can just tell this guy's going to be really good on the campaign circuit. But speaking of that series, the other reason I wanted to bring it up was Franco. Obviously, Franco's getting a lot of positive attention, and he is looking more and more likely as we go.
Yep.
As a nominee. But I was starting to wonder how many people in the, because there's so many Academy members, how many people in the industry are aware of the room? Because if people go into the Disaster Artist voters not aware of the room, are they going to get what he's doing?
I really
cost him because his Actors on Actors segment was with Dustin Hoffman. And Dustin Hoffman watched The Disaster Artist, but then he said that he had no idea what The Room was. He didn't know The Room was a real movie, even though he watched The Disaster Artist.
Right.
So, are people going to realize... There are people who are not aware of what The Room is going to realize that it's not a bad performance from Franco, that he's like perfectly imitating a real person.
I honestly think the ones that have not seen The Room are probably just going to look at it just like we have looked at movies from just at face value. Like, for example, just what we're seeing on the big screen. It doesn't matter if there's material that goes with this and this is based on a real person or an alien, depending on who you ask. Literally an alien playing an alien. The thing...
He's an American guy, you know.
Yeah, he is. We still don't know how old he is. The thing is, I will say right now that I think they're just going to judge the performance. And a lot of people that I'm seeing talk about The Disaster Artist, again, my bias aside, I will say right now they're not necessarily mentioning completely the fact that it's about The Room, it's about Tommy Wiseau, they're looking at the fact that Franco's performance is so good. And the ones that have seen The Room, they're like waxing poetic about it, and it's amazing. And you know what? We're going to live in an age where James Franco is going to become an Oscar nominee. Jordan Peele is going to be a front runner to win something this year. And literally, you're going to see a lot of crazy things just battling this year that we never thought in another year would ever have happened. This is actually going to be a really fun award season. I don't know if it's going to be fun when it comes to when we get to the winners, but it's going to be fun in the meantime, at least.
And as far as before your stream of consciousness just kept going, as far as Hanks being here, I still look at it cautiously,
right?
Because I still feel so burned about that Captain Phillips snub.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
He can get snubbed for Captain Phillips. He can get snubbed for anything. and the fact that Denzel is the one that I took out of this. And the main reason I took Denzel out, people love Denzel's performance, as they should. But I think that even though I did like it, I think it's one of those movies that's not strong enough to be memorable in itself. And that's gonna make it much easier for voters to dismiss a Denzel when you have these five that are like right front and center. When these five are here and we're like really getting into the meat of the season, Rowan J. Ezra Esquire is gonna be like, oh yeah, that movie did happen, but it's gonna be out of their minds by that point, I think.
And it's
with vague memories of, oh yeah, Denzel was really great in that though, but
right. Yeah. I mean, it's funny because I don't really even need to give an explanation for mine. I have the same exact lineup you do. Tom Hanks, yes, absolutely. Gary Oldman, the trailer, like, just, my God, it's just like the transformation. You know it's him because you can tell the voice, but I mean, he has transformed himself 100%. And the Darkest Hour train, that's the best way I'm trying to put it, has kind of somewhat derailed, but Oldman's still on there, and he's the only one that's left. And I really think it's going to be a big deal when it happens. Daniel Day-Lewis, the only thing I have for Phantom Thread right now. Franco being an Oscar nominee, it just so excites me. I'm really excited about that.
You remember he's been nominated before, right?
I know, but it's weird to keep saying it if you look at all the very odd things he's done for passion projects. And Timothée Chalamet, I mean, honestly, when I watch him in Lady Bird, he kind of reminds me, and this is probably going to be bad me saying this, but I got to say it, he very much reminds me of 10 Things I Hate About You, Heath Ledger. That's a really good comparison that I can see, and he's really good.
I actually meant to use that as another explanation for why I put him in, is he happens to have the 1-2 punch of also being in Lady Bird. I think that's going to help a lot, too.
He's in Hostiles too, so I mean, he does have like 3 movies that are going to be like somewhere in people's minds. 2 that are going to be Oscar contenders, and 1 that's, well, yeah, it's there.
Scott Gimple did his Oscar glory with Crazy Heart, and even though his filmography is getting better, that he stopped at Crazy Heart Oscar-wise.
It's not over yet, but you never know. I mean, Gaia says McDormand, Robbie, Ronan, and Streep. BAFTA could help Dench get in. Yeah, I could see that. I mean, that's probably the only help, but BAFTA could also help Hawkins get in too. The funny thing is the second that he typed that, that's when you said that Dench could take Hawkins out. So yeah. And Gaius thinks that Steve Carell could still sneak in for Last Flag Flying.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I think Last Flag Flying is pretty much like dead in the water right now, unless you talk about Linklater. That's the only thing I've got it for. But then again, I'm not the master prognosticator of prognosticators. I don't know the future, because if I did, I'd fast forward to when it happened. So needless to say, when it comes down to it, I will say right now that Carell could sneak in. And it's weird because I was very gung-ho about Battle of the Sexes, and that movie is completely off everyone's radar now.
Yeah, because there is always the likelihood that there's stuff that we don't know about yet, or won't know for like another week.
Right.
And the fact that we tend to give the Globes shit because of how meaningless they really are, because they're like a group of 90 people that have nothing to do with the Academy whatsoever. But at the same time, it does seem like that's where some random nominees are born. Like, they're on nobody's radar. Like, the one, I think I used this as an example last time. Bale in The Big Short keeps coming to mind, where I felt like nobody was paying attention to him, but then once he got the Globe nomination, it's like he just kept fucking going.
Right.
And so it's like anything can be born out of when we get the other nominees, so yeah. So I guess we really can't be that dismissive of anything.
No, we can't. Speaking of dismissive, and I know where this is going. Hey, AJ, what's your nominations for Best Director?
Why don't you go fuck yourself? Because I know why you're so happy to hear me say this.
Yeah, of course I am.
Well, the thing about it The thing about it was I had to make a very interesting decision here.
So did I, and it was the same one I made actually.
And as I told you over the phone, should for some reason I be right about this, this might be unprecedented.
Okay.
I have Guillermo del Toro for The Shape of Water, Greta Gerwig for Lady Bird, Luca Guadagnino for Call Me by Your Name, Martin McDonagh for Three Awards Outside of Missouri, and Christopher Nolan for Dunkirk. Yes, if I'm right, all 5 director nominees are first-timers in the category. I don't know that that's ever happened, and that's probably going to make a lot of people say that's why it won't happen. You'll notice Spielberg isn't here.
Yeah.
Seems like an obvious choice, but the thing is I look at these 5, and if I were to put Spielberg back in here, I don't know who leaves.
That's the thing. I can't now.
The thing about it is that if you ask anybody, they would probably say, looking at the awards that have been given out so far, the one on the chopping block here is Martin McDonagh, because if you look at nominees we've been getting, these smaller ones, Three Billboards is popular, but McDonagh almost never gets in. Director.
Correct.
But I'm feeling like if this continues to be a thing, I could very easily see Martin McDonagh being like the Lenny Abrahamson.
Yep.
So, where that player is always there, but we don't necessarily realize how much of a player the movie is until the actual Oscar nominations, like what Room did.
Yep.
Despite the fact that Three Billboards seems to have a very high status right now, so it's really not even the same thing. But yeah, so looking at it that way, I'm really not sure, because you look at it from the case of, there's been a lot of examples, but the one that stands out the most obviously is the crazy shit that happened in 2012, where it really started to become clear that the Academy wants to be inspired when they go for the director nominee. See also Bennett Miller's Alone nomination for Foxcatcher, where Foxcatcher didn't get into picture despite the fact that there were 8 slots and he still got in director. They seem to want to take a lot more, and I know it's weird to use 2012 as an example because that's a year that Spielberg was nominated.
Yeah, it's kind of odd, I'm not gonna lie.
But you get what I'm talking about, to where it's like, oh, Affleck and Bigelow. Well, fuck that. We'll do Haneke and Ben Zeitlin, because. And I could totally see thinking like that, having us end up with a lineup like this, to where it's a lot of really inspired nominees for like the much smaller movies, and you've still got a big one in there like Nolan.
Right.
So, and once again, it's still crazy to a lot of people that even though Nolan's in here, that still accounts for the fact that these would all be first timers in the director category. So, yeah, because obviously, yeah, I don't even think I need to explain any of these. Their status is pretty much speaks for itself in this race, especially since Ashley has been predicting Patty Jenkins for Wonder Woman because of the whole surely they'll go for another female director thing, but then it's like Lady Bird ends up being the most critically acclaimed movie of the year. It's right there. There you go. We have a female director nominee again, and it's really that simple. So,
yes.
And the others I really just feel speak for themselves. I don't know if Luca Guadagnino is on as many, or was on as many radars now, but I imagine he most certainly is at this point.
Right.
So, like, I just assumed he'd be one of those, like, kind of random choices, but now with Call Me By Your Name having such the status that it does, like, it's more or less a front runner right now. So
yeah, it is.
He's like a given. But like, it is weird that they would all be first timers, and the fact that we would out Spielberg when the Post seems to be doing so well. But these 5 just really make sense to me right now.
I agree completely. And it's really weird, to say the least, because the one person that has more hope for Greta than anyone on planet Earth, except for Baumbach, probably, obviously. I didn't have her in director because I wasn't sure they would go for it. But I'm very happy to say that I think they're going to. And it makes me very happy. Very, very happy to say this. So yeah, I had to bump Spielberg too. I didn't want to, but I couldn't think of anybody else. I wasn't bumping McDonough. I wasn't. He was the only one on the chopping block. Nolan's pretty much set. Nolan looks like he's contending for the win right now. Finally. Del Toro, I mean, it's weird looking at what The Shape of Water, just at the trailer itself, and it doesn't look like something that would do well, but then again, we have precedent. So yeah, I mean, he's there. And Jordan Peele has become a juggernaut, and it's literally going to be Greta and Jordan are going to be battling for the double noms all year. And they're going to get it. I see no doubt in my mind that they're going to get it. And I think we're going to be able to say both of them are Oscar nominees, both very deserving Oscar nominees by the time we get to January. So, yes, I officially have a horse in this race, without a doubt.
For some reason, it's only just occurred to me that I want to hear the valets from Key and Peele talk about Get Out.
Oh, wow. Well, then.
Are we doing picture?
We're in Best Picture, and I'm curious to see what yours has done, because I'll be honest, mine hasn't changed.
It's like there's 7 obvious ones, and then the other 2.
Right.
Are you feeling the same way?
I mean, I look at my lineup, and the one that's probably the most, like, I guess you would say expendable is the one I'm clinging to, so no.
I guess I should say the ones that I have are Call Me By Your Name, Dunkirk, Get Out, Lady Bird, Phantom Thread, The Post, The Shape of Water, 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, and Wind River. I know I'm still stuck on Wind River for some reason, and I'm still using the same excuse. It's just a movie that's so emotionally driven and ends on such a high. I feel like it could get a lot of passionate votes, especially since they went through the whole process of removing Weinstein's name from it.
Right.
That could be a whole thing. And then Phantom Thread, I feel like on top of should Paul Thomas Anderson's screenplay do well, and the fact that Day-Lewis seems to be a given, on top of the fact that it'll probably have plenty of text behind it, should be enough to get it in there, should there be this many. I said last time I didn't have Get Out in picture because I wasn't able to fit Peele in screenplay. But now that Peele seems to be a front runner in screenplay, I think that's more than enough to get Out in here. Even if that's its only 2 nominations, that's enough. So, yeah. Especially since Spotlight just showed us that all you have to do is win original screenplay and you can win fucking picture. So, yes, with Wind River, Phantom Thread, and Get Out explained, I think the rest speak for themselves.
Right. So yeah, that's yours, and I might as well just throw mine in because it just makes sense. So yeah, my lineup has not changed from last month. I don't know if it's changed. Did it change last month, the month before? Let me see. Oh yeah, because I still have Darkest Hour and Downsizing in here. So yeah, my Best Picture lineup is A Disaster Artist, Get Out, The Post, I, Tonya, Call Me By Your Name, Dunkirk, 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, Lady Bird, and The Shape of Water. I don't think I need to defend anything on that list. It all seems probable. So, I think that's your show. Oh, real quick, have a couple things. Gaia says, yeah, Mad Max propelled from Globes. Director, he's going for Call Me By Your Name, Dunkirk, The Post, Shape of Water. And Denis Villeneuve.
I see you still can't say his name, but
Dynafire. I'm tired. I have not had much sleep. You have to give me a break.
That's it. Even though I don't have any faith in it, apart from text, I am very curious to see what Blade Runner ends up doing.
Yeah. Welcome, Cassie K. Yeah, we're getting ready to end right now. So once again, thanks for joining us tonight. or today, or whenever you're watching this or listening to this. Ashley's predictions will be upcoming soon. I don't know exactly when soon, but soon nonetheless. So that's actually going to be your show for tonight. Thank you everyone for joining us, and we're going to be back next month with trying to figure out exactly what kind of a bloodbath we have with the entire lineup. We do this once because we only can do it once. And there's a reason for that, because if we tried to do this from August, oh my gosh, could you imagine honestly what things are going to be like coming in and out of these nominations?
Did you plan on doing them separately like we did last year?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, well, actually, since I don't know, it just depends. Since we have a podcast format, we might as well just do them all. We'll see. Honestly, that's a lot to go with. Gaia says Blade Runner, Call Me by Your Name, Dunkirk, I, Tonya, Lady Bird, Mudbound, The Post, The Shape of Water, and 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. I mean, we'll see. But for a show that didn't get any promotion, that I did not put on Twitter that we were doing, thanks everyone for joining us today. And archive viewership really helps the network constantly. So we didn't think there was going to be many people joining us. Then again, it's 1 o'clock on the East Coast, so it's not that bad. So Cassie, the archive will be up momentarily, so you can check it out if you'd like to go back and listen. It's me and AJ today. Ashley will be joining us via his own video soon. And we're glad to have you too, 100%. Thank you for joining us tonight. And I'd ask usually how to get a hold of AJ on social media, but I know better. If you need to get a hold of AJ for any reason, shoot me an email, surroanddisney@gmail.com. If you have any ideas for verses or sip and snack, then shoot me an email, surroanddisney@gmail.com. Follow the network at Popcast Network. Check out my Facebook fan page for the network that I put together. It's going to be Popcast Network on Facebook. And if you'd like to follow me on Twitter, it's at surroanddisney. Ash's video is coming out soon. Follow him on Twitter. Ash is my name UK. Check out his videos for the SNS Radio Network, his podcast, like the Elite Force podcast, and also his weekly Gaming with Ash videos. And we're back here tomorrow night for the Wednesday Wrestling Podcast at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So stay tuned for that. And that's going to be your video. So once again, oh God, I was going to do the wrestling outro. In the meantime, I will say right now, if you have access to it, Movie Pass is worth your money. I've already seen Lady Bird, 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, and Wonder in the meantime. And I'm trying to watch a movie a day as much as I can. Still need to watch Coco, but I'm waiting until the Evil Frozen short gets taken off of it. So I'm going to do that. The Disaster Artist can't wait to see this weekend. And I still got to see Justice League. I'm going to be seeing that in the very near future. I know it's weird me not seeing Justice League after I am like the world's biggest Affleck mark when it comes to him being Batman. So the video exists. Go back and check it out. I have extreme cred for like calling that early. But needless to say, once again, thanks you for joining us this afternoon. And as always, go see a movie. And until tomorrow, boys and girls, that's all we got to say about that.